Thanks to Daniel who stepped in whilst I was away. So today's session is more wrapping up on all the things we've covered, and the focus would all be on the stages of design thinking. I know most of you have attended all the other sessions and have had the opportunity to give us feedback on the sessions we've organized. In today's session, we are just looking at wrapping up everything we've discussed and for you to give us those important feedback on the key things we've covered. So today's session is more of a wrap-up and an interactive session. So on the design thinking stages and tools, we look at planning, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, validate, and test. The key areas for any design thinking analyst are the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. But for all initiatives, we need to first plan. In the empathize phase, we looked at the design sprint, which could be a week-long sprint where the teams can spend all the time understanding the problem and being able to help the user understand their environment. So in this session, we will be taking a look back at all the things we've discussed in the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and the validate and test stage. When we take a look back on all of those, it would help us plan for the next sessions we've got. I'm more excited as well about the next sessions that we'll be looking at. And I'll get into the end. I'll be sharing on all the new topics we'll be looking at in the Skilled Agile Framework. Design thinking is also part of the Skilled Agile Framework. So look forward to some areas of design thinking when we start looking at the Skilled Agile Framework. So the 5 phases of design thinking: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Empathize is where we are building our understanding of the customer. And we talked about the persona. We also talk about the empathy maps. And then we wrapped up that session more looking at how we can use various elicitation techniques to understand our customer. We looked at interviews, observations, focus groups, and questionnaires. Then in our define stage, we looked at analyzing the various results using the 5 W's and the 2 hows. We also touched on affinity diagrams. And if you want videos and slides to all the sessions, we've got them, and we can always send them to you at the end of this session. We finished the define stage by looking at the point of view statement. In creating the point of view statement, it helps us explore the customer's problem and narrow it down to the key problem. There are many problems, but when we spend time understanding the customer's environment, we can come to a point where we can use the Pareto analysis or the Moscow analysis to finally arrive at what the real problem is. If we do that, we can then move on to the ideate stage. In the ideation stage is looking at various options. Prototyping is creating low fidelity, high fidelity prototypes, and then we can get the customer to test and give us feedback. These stages can be used iteratively. Do we use it once in the design sprint and then forget about it? No, we can use it in the initial stages of understanding the customer's problem, exploring the problem, finding options, and then we can also use it to test that particular problem. And then we will go back round the stages to make sure that continuously we are focused on the customer. It can be used by startups, it can be used by programs and projects, and it's an ongoing iterative stage which helps the teams narrow and understand the problems of the customer. When we take a look at design thinking, here are the things I would like you to write down on the design thinking approach. It's a mindset of solving the customer's problem. And with the mindset comes a lot of tool sets. The various tool sets are the persona, the empathy map, the point of view statement, using the SWOT analysis, using the TOS analysis, and the elicitation techniques to help you and your team come to a point where you really have understood the customer's problem and spend time exploring the problem and finding options. At Inro, we spend some time looking at our various customers, and from there we've produced tools like the learning management system for our various customers. We've also produced a pharmaceutical system which will be connecting wholesalers and retailers. Our website as well has been optimized in such a way that we are continuously understanding our problems. So as a business, you can always use the design thinking approach to innovate on your existing process and solve your problems. Why is design thinking so important? It's human-centered. Are we saying all other problems are not solved properly using a human-centered approach? It explicitly makes sure that you think about the customer throughout the process. I've been on certain initiatives where we didn't have a persona statement. We didn't spend time understanding our particular users and their environment. Could it have helped? Yes, I think it would have helped. At that time, if I had the knowledge and the tool set I have now, I would have been able to input those to make sure that those projects focused on helping our customers. The next item is we should have a beginner's mindset. If you have a human-centered approach, it's always an add-on to have the beginner's mindset. The beginner's mindset assumes that, yes, you've already come to a point where you have a good understanding of the problem, but there's always an opportunity to improve on that particular problem. And if you don't have a beginner's mindset, you have a still mindset where you always think, yes, we've come to the end and this would always work for our customers. Reminded that the customer's environment continuously changes. It does not remain stable. So if you have a beginner's mindset, you are able to think through the customer's new world continuously and then bring in improvements. It's a team effort as well, and we can use various elicitation techniques. And one that predominantly brings a lot of outcomes is the workshops. When you've got your teams, either in a virtual or in a face-to-face environment, you want to make sure that everyone is contributing into the process. And in workshops, if you are the person leading the whole or leading that workshop or facilitating the workshops, think about the environment, think about the people, think about the tools, think about the processes, and how you can get all the team members involved in the process. Finally, visualize the process. You can use various tools to help you visualize the process. When I was once an analyst, a business analyst, I was using mind maps, I was using process maps, I was using use case diagrams. And being a product owner as well, I've used all those documents, and I've also used various prototypes to help me on that particular journey. So continuously attempt to visualize the process and get your customers to have a better understanding of the entire process you are working on. And as it says, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if you can paint the picture for your users, they can always give you the best feedback you can expect. So, as part of our wrap-up sessions, we would like to go through a lessons learned approach. And here we want to make it as well human-centered, more focused on the attendees of the design thinking session. What did I learn? What would I like to learn on design thinking? What can be done to improve future sessions? And what went well? I know there's certain instances that we would have liked to see improvement in the whole process. So I've got a mirror board that I'll be sending around. And it might be difficult for those using mobile phones, but on this mirror boards, you can easily type away, what did I learn? What would I like to learn on design thinking? What can be done to improve future sessions? So I'm going to add a link. I'm going to add the link into the chat area. I would like you to pick on the link and then type away, what did I learn? What would you like to learn on design thinking in the future sessions? So in the next set of sessions, what we will be looking at is business agility with a spotlight on SAFe. As a SAFe program consultant, I teach the skilled agile courses. We'll be looking at how to understand the skilled agile framework, more looking at the framework map and touching on all the various areas on this framework map. If you've done any of the skilled agile courses, can you please type a yes in the chat box if you've done any of the skilled agile courses, and type in a no if you've not done any of the skilled agile courses. I'm getting a lot of yeses, yeah, and a few no's on the skilled agile. So when we start talking about the skilled agile approach, initially we will touch on Agile Foundation. So I'll give an overview of Agile Foundation as the first topic, and then we'll move on to the skilled agile framework. And for the rest of all the future sessions, the focus will just be on the skilled agile framework. We'll pick areas on the skilled agile framework that we'll touch on as we go along. And if by popular request as well, we get a need for a particular area to be looked at, it will be the one that I will be covering. An area we've covered so far on the skilled agile framework is design thinking. And design thinking from a skilled agile perspective as well revolves around what we've touched so far. We'll look at the plan, empathize, we'll look at the define, ideate, prototype, and test, which would all be embedded in the SAFe framework. I'm so passionate about the skilled agile framework. I teach it to clients, Fujitsu, Philips, and I see it as the new wave in the agile world. So I'll be focusing heavily on the skilled agile framework. There are other agile frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, but all of them are embedded in the skilled agile framework. Hence, I am passionate about the skilled agile framework. So we'll touch on the skilled agile framework. Some of the other areas we'll touch on during our look at the skilled agile framework will be looking at the implementation roadmap. The implementation roadmap is for all organizations undergoing change. If you are going through change, you really want to do it in a proper, ordered manner. This implementation roadmap helps organizations on this journey. And the Skilled Agile recommends that we first train our leaders to understand the framework. And I've done that at Fujitsu, Philips. I've done it with a lot of consultancies, and I'll be sharing on all of those experiences. Recently introduced into the Skilled Agile framework, which we will touch on as well, is the competencies. It's got 7 competencies, and when we've understood all the 7 competencies, we would have a better understanding of what the SAFe framework does. Though I'll be covering snippets and areas of the Skilled Agile framework, it will not form part of a certification. If you want to be qualified in any of the SAFE certifications, feel free to get in touch as well. But in these particular sessions, we are looking at the Scaled Agile Framework, how organizations are using it and embedding it in delivering their transformations. We'll be looking at the 2-day PI planning map. So it's quite filled with a lot, and it will not be offering you a certification. It will be giving you a better and a holistic understanding of what the entire framework is all about. So the next sessions will be on the Scaled Agile Framework. We're done with the. If you have any questions on the design thinking, I can send you all the videos. We've covered each stage in detail, and the videos are all available for your use. And if you've got questions, feel free to get in touch. The next sessions will be on the Scaled Agile Framework. So I look forward to seeing you join on those sessions. So has anyone got any questions? Okay, would it be possible to dig deeper in design thinking? For instance, the tools, run a workshop on each tool. We've done that, Yusuf. We've gone through all the various stages of design thinking, and we've touched on the Empathise, looked at the various tools we can use on the Empathise stage. I will send you the links to the videos for you to watch, and we've covered all the various stages within the design thinking, and it will be great if you watch the videos and send us your questions. So what I would be doing is I will be sharing updates on our next set of sessions on the Scaled Agile Framework, more focused on business agility. And when we talk about business agility, we are looking at the entire organization, not just the teams. Agile frameworks focus on teams. The Scaled Agile Framework focuses on organizations. And as we go on this particular journey, we will see how design thinking is embedded in the entire process, and how as teams we could be using practices like Scrum, Kanban, XP, design thinking, the continuous delivery pipeline, DevOps, and so many other frameworks embedded in the Scaled Agile approach to help us deliver digital transformation, organizational transformation, and help organizations improve. It's a framework, and it's got a lot of tools that we can borrow, whether we are in a Scaled Agile environment or not in a Scaled Agile environment. The tools can always help us. Yeah. So
sorry, Kwame. Sorry, I just have a quick question. When you say not skilled environment, what do you mean by that?
okay, I have people who tell me, William, we are not using Scaled Agile as a framework. We are a waterfall organization. How can I use the elements of the Scaled Agile framework? If you are a waterfall organization, there are some of the events within the Agile framework that you can use. I've seen waterfall organizations, more, let me say, Agile organizations use daily stand-ups. They've tried to also use retrospectives. And when we look at retrospectives are lessons learned. But instead of doing it at the end of the project, now they are doing it much more after every 2 weeks at the end of the month, so that they can get all those feedbacks to improve their processes. They are also looking at how they can adopt a better understanding of delivering the work. Though they might have Gantt charts, they've also got Kanban boards to help them manage the flow of the work. So whether I am or let me just rephrase it, whether you are in an agile environment or in a non-agile environment, the tools and the various frameworks within the Scaled Agile framework are things you can apply. they are not only meant for agile environments. They are tools that can be applied in a non-agile environment. So whilst we go along, I also talk about some of the tools that I've seen agile or waterfall organizations use.
Okay.
If we think design thinking is not mainly an agile environment frame tool that should be used. It can be used in an agile and a non-agile environment. Any question? I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions as we look forward to the SAFE framework, building our knowledge on business agility?
I just have one other question, actually. I'm
Go
not
ahead.
too sure if this is in line with what you're talking about, but I'm just trying to cast my mind back. So if you're in an organization that are meant to be practicing Agile, as in using Agile methodology, but somewhere along the line, it kind of drops off, and the processes or the standards are not necessarily being adhered to. I'll give you an example. At the end of each sprint, you have a show and tell meeting.
Yes.
Where you're meant to go over the functionality that's been built, etc., and show it to the product owner or the stakeholders. And if the stakeholders then request that they don't want to participate in this meeting because they feel they don't have the time, and they've asked to basically kind of cancel out the whole show and tell, actually where you go into the system to show them what has been done or what has been built. Like circumstances like that, how would you advise one to deal with it, or what would you advise?
Okay, just to let a straightforward answer, I'll start working with the stakeholders. As a team, we will do the show and tell.
Yeah.
With the stakeholders, we'll look for a monthly show and tell. Maybe every 2 weeks is eaten into their time. Monthly, can we get someone within the stakeholder group to attend? So it shouldn't be a fixed mindset that every 2 weeks the stakeholders must attend. If they can't make it, let's make it once a month.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the show and tell is to get feedback. If we do it once every 3 months, it just takes too long to get feedback from the stakeholders.
Yeah.
But let's do it within the teams. Let's get someone from the stakeholder group who can attend at least at the end of every 2 weeks. It's just the feedback. Let's think about it. Feedback helps us improve the processes. But if the feedback takes too long, it impacts the whole process.
Yeah.
So if we have that mindset that we need early feedback and we start informing stakeholders, look, we know every 2 weeks is becoming hard. Can you attend once a month? We don't want to build a system that after 6 months you tell us that's not what you expect. Can you give us early feedback? And if you can push that feedback ideology, you can get them on board much early and build a tool, a system, a solution, a product that will meet their needs. And they would continuously invest time if you are building tools that meets their needs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. As in, I'm currently in that situation, and the show and tell is actually, I would say, every 3 weeks, which is 1 week shorter. But I guess it just goes to show it's more to do with the stakeholder management. And if they're saying they don't have time, nobody wants to offend them, so they kind of try to adhere to whatever they say. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure my line of thought is on the right track.
Yes, we are working with our stakeholders, and I know Agile recommends they work with us, but they also have a lot to do. Yeah. Let's work and balance the situation. And I like what you guys have done. 3 weeks is perfect. I would have gone for a month, but 3 weeks is awesome, and that works. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
William, I have a question.
Go for it.
So who should do the show and tell?
The team should do the show and tell, and the stakeholders should give feedback.
Okay.
So would it be the Scrum Master?
And most have asked, can the Scrum Master do it? If the Scrum Master is part of the team, they can do the show and tell.
Okay.
But if the Scrum Master is not part of the team, let's give it to a team member for them to share with us what they have built.
Okay.
If it's done by the Scrum Master, then the teams are not getting the opportunity to share what they've done. And it should be the team. A team member should do the show and tell. The Scrum Master can facilitate the session, collate all the feedback, and make sure that nothing gets missing or nothing gets through the drain, and everything has been documented for the lessons learned or the retrospective sessions. But thank you all. I've taken feedback on Miro, and I look forward for the business agility sessions with a focus on SAFe. Just to remind you, all the sessions are not towards a certification. If it's a certification, go onto our website at the Lean Icon Technology, and we teach courses on SAFe Scrum Master, SAFe Product Owner, the Leading SAFe Framework, and the Release Train Engineer courses. I look forward to seeing you on the business agility courses, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for your time, and see you next week as we start our business agility sessions. Have a wonderful day.